coming to tonight's first presentation in the Women Influence in the Arts Speaker Series. My name is Donna Thompson, and I am a third-year MFA Arts Leadership student here at the School of Performing Arts. And over the past 2 years, I've become increasingly interested in examining what it means to be a woman in the arts. I began noticing conferences all around the place, focusing on women in leadership, women in business, women in engineering, just to name a few, but not many focused on women in the arts, so I wanted to change that. So I wanted to create a place where both women in the field, current and aspiring, as well as their supporters, could come together to talk about challenges, provide advice, and ultimately celebrate accomplishments and what it means to be a woman in the field. I'm happy to say that our guests, Maria Maloney and Kimberly Hickman this evening, will be here to guide us through that process tonight. And they both have a very extensive and successful careers in theater. Maria as an actress and singer off-Broadway, as well as touring the country as a member of Actors Equity. And Kimberly Hickman as a director, having worked on Broadway and productions that have earned 19 Tony Award nominations combined. So we will begin this evening with a presentation from these two wonderful ladies, which will be followed by a question and answer session, which I encourage you to ask questions. And then to top it all off, lastly but not least, there is some food and snacks, and I welcome you to stay for that and conversation. So please welcome me in joining Maria and Kimberly.
Thank you, Donna, for having us. We're really thrilled to be here. And thank you to the Virginia Tech team for hosting us this weekend. Bechdel Project is thrilled to be here for this 3-day residency. My name is Maria Maloney. I'm one of 3 co-founding members of Bechdel Project. Another co-founding member is Jens Rasmussen, who's back here, who's my tech guy tonight. Thank you, Jens. And the third co-founding member is Kimberly Hickman, who's here joining us remotely. And I'm really glad that she can be here to present with me. Kimberly is the artistic director of the Omaha Community Playhouse, and she's directing a show right now, so she's remoting in. And I'm really glad to have her because Kimberly comes from a directing background, and I come from an acting background, so I'm excited that we can share those unique perspectives with everyone tonight, and that you're all here to share in that. So I'm going to have Kimberly actually kick it off here and talk a little bit about her journey and what led her to a career in directing, and a little bit about the events leading up to where she is now. So Kimberly, why don't you go ahead and kick us off?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, good.
Is that too loud?
Nope.
No, I think we're okay.
Okay. Are we good?
We're good.
Okay. My name is Kimberly Hickman. I am originally from Phoenix City, Alabama, a small town in the deep, hot South. And I grew up watching Annie one too many times as a kid, and watching Annie really sucked me into wanting to do theater because I thought it looked like so much fun, and everyone doing Annie looked like they were having such a good time, and I thought that should be me someday. So it introduced me to theater.
Buffering. I feel like we're in the commercial.
Wait for it. No.
Of course.
Or directing classes, and yeah, of course, what?
Go ahead. Sorry, we lost you for a moment. If you'll take us back to, you saw everyone doing Annie and everyone was having a great time, and you said, I can do that too. That should be me someday.
So after that, I went on to study directing in college and had a great directing teacher who encouraged me to study. And then I just started working after I graduated college, and I was really lucky to be able to do that. I was an actor for a little while, but I discovered that I was much happier on the other side of the table. And being wasn't such a great thing, but being in your head as a director is awesome because you can really just analyze all the time, and it's a great part of the job. And so I started directing freelance and choreographing. Did that only for a few years, and then started looking for internships and assistantships in New York. And I was introduced to a company called Women's Project, and they are the oldest off-Broadway company devoted to producing work written by women, produced by women. And I was an intern for them for a number of months, and that really set the path for where I am now. And it was a really extraordinary company that is still in New York. They have a new artistic director who's doing some really cool kick-ass things. And they just really introduced me to the importance of women in this career in the field. Because prior to meeting them, my parents, I was really lucky. My parents were very encouraging, and I never thought I couldn't do anything because I was a girl. 20s, I started people thought I could do things because I was a girl. And working with Women's Project was a really empowering experience where I got to see how other women were struggling with this very issue and how they were, joining together to combat that sort of ostracization by people in the theater industry. And so after that, after working with Women's Project, they introduced me to a lot of other great women, and that's how I got to the first woman I got to work with was Susan Stroman. And Susan Stroman loves hiring female assistants for that exact reason of we just have a harder time getting into the room. So she makes it sure that when she's looking for someone to work with, she chooses women. And then I got to work with Pam McKinnon, who was an extraordinary person that I met through Women's Project. I worked with her on a number of productions. And then I was introduced to Lynn Meadow, who's the artistic director of Manhattan Theater Club, and got to work with her on a number of projects. And all three of those women were so important and an integral part of my development as a director, but as a female director, and knowing how to be in a room and be present in meetings where you're surrounded by lots of male producers. A lot of producing is a boys club and an older gentleman's boys club, and so I really just got to learn a lot from them about how to be a leader and be a contributor in those types of settings, and learn how to fight for what. And so after working with them, I freelance directed and choreographed around the country. And in the process, I came to the theater out here in Omaha, Nebraska a couple of years ago as a guest director. I had a really good experience. They asked me back, and I went back 3 more times, had great experiences, and then they needed an artistic director. And lo and behold, they asked if I was interested, and I said, sure, why not? I'm interested. And then they offered me the job. And so that all sort of happened at the same time that we were creating Bechdel Project. And so it was really interesting to Jens and Maria on creating Bechdel Project because all of our different experiences of working with female-driven theater companies all led us to have a conversation of what is theater missing. We have these companies that are very pro-women, but what are we still missing? And what we felt like theater was missing was a strong female narrative in playwriting. That was to form Bechdel Project. And so we formed it, we're just a little over a year old. We're still pretty new, but the need for our mission, I think, it's a really big need that people are finding they are still looking for. I go to a lot of auditions, Southeastern Theater Conference and UPDAs and all these sort of like big cattle call auditions, and so much of the material that I hear, especially female actresses using, The writing is tough. It's hard to find good monologues as a female actress, and so I find that more female playwrights and empowering female playwrights to write about issues and characters that are really important to them that represent well-rounded women, not just women that are talking about guys all the time. It's really important, and so that's what led us to create this, and it's a huge part of as an artistic director now, I look for programming a season, and it's something that's in my brain, constantly is what stories am I putting on stage for people to see, and what kinds of female characters am I putting out there for people to see. And then that's my story in a nutshell in regard to my path and how I got here. Maria, do you want to tell your story now?
Yes, thank you. Thanks, Kim, for sharing. A little bit about me. I have been in love with comedic storytelling all of my life. So I grew up in rural Pennsylvania in a little country town called Perky Almondville, just outside of Philadelphia. It's a real town, it exists. And I'm the youngest of 6 children in a very interesting, with a very interesting ethnic background. My father is 100% Irish and my mother is of Mexican descent. So the youngest of 6 children and this household, there was a lot of comedic material pretty much every day for me to play on. My first great passion was singing. I'm still very passionate about singing. I went on to pursue music, of course, but when I was about 9 years old, I decided that I wanted to pursue a career being a female pop star. Because I wanted my mother to allow me to wear tops that showed my belly. So for about 3 months straight, I'm told, I do remember some of this, I came up with a stage name, Amy Austin, and for 3 months I made everybody call me Amy Austin so that I could just hear how it sounded. Because I wanted to make sure it was the right one. So obviously I stayed with singing, and my first voice teacher is the one who introduced me to theater. She was doing a show at the local community playhouse, and they needed a child actor to fill one of the roles, and so that was me, and I fell in love with the theater and the community, and getting to play all these different characters and resonating with different emotions and storytelling in a way that was so different from the storytelling that I was doing at home. It was really tremendous. So I went on to do the plays, of course, and musicals in high school, and then I went on to college. I pursued a theater degree with a concentration in voice performance. So I also studied classically. I'm trained as a lyric soprano. And then I went on to study at the American Musical Dramatics Academy in Manhattan, which was a huge goal of mine. I always wanted to study in New York. And when I graduated AMDA, I had a terrific career. I'm really, really grateful. I went on to do a lot of really cool regional theater. I did some touring. And, it's interesting. When I first got out there, meaning like in the world doing regional theater, I realized that being female in this industry, you're forced to confront some realities that you really didn't expect, right? So it's about expectations, it's about being prepared for what you're going to be confronted with. And so I have some cool stories for you. The first one is about, as an actor, a female actor in particular, you're going to have a tendency very may well work with someone that you might feel a little uncomfortable with, you might not know very well, and in this particular story, it's a kissing story. Who doesn't love a good kissing story? I remember I was at a callback, and everything happens so fast at callbacks, right? The monitor comes out and he says, "You, Maria, you're gonna read with this guy. Okay, go over there in the corner, you're on deck. Just read this real quick, it's a cold read." And so you go into a corner and you meet this person you've never met before, and you try to have a little bit of an interaction, and right off the bat, I was like, oh no, this guy is I was like, he and I are just not jiving, and he wasn't the kind of actor that shares ideas and you go back and forth. It was just kind of, it wasn't gonna really go that well, right? And there was a kiss written into the scene, and I thought, oh my gosh, I can't kiss this guy. I don't know him. This is weird. So the monitor opens up the door and she puts her head out. She's like, you guys, you're on deck. Okay, so real quick, in about a minute. And I was like, ah. So I say to this young man, listen, I have to be honest. I am super uncomfortable with this kiss thing. I'm sorry, but I can't do it. Why don't we do something else? And of course he did not like that. He was like, it's written, it's in the scene. Like this, they're gonna expect us to do this. That's what we need to do. I was like, ah. So I thought really quick, right? And I said, how about this? How about instead of a kiss on the mouth, you get down on your knee and you kiss my hand? And I said, it'll be really sweet. It'll be so different. It'll be a change in levels. It'll be, I was trying to think of anything that I could to convince this guy. And I said, it'll be like nothing else that anyone else has done in the room so far. And then the monitor opens the door and, okay, you're ready. So we go in and oh my gosh, my stomach is getting butterflies. And we go in the room and before we start the scene, he announces to the entire creative team behind the table, I just want to let you know, she's really uncomfortable with the kiss. So we changed some things so that, she's not comfortable. So I hope you like it. Which is just like, first of all, one tiny little piece of advice. Don't ever announce what you're gonna do, just do it. Don't ever apologize for something you came up with, just do it. So me being young me, we get to the scene, it's okay. We get to the part, he gets down on his knee, he takes my hand, and he kisses my hand, and it's really sweet. And I thought, oh my God, this is working. This is working. And the reaction in the room was everyone behind the table went, oh. And I thought, nailed it! Right? Like, yeah. But I was a mess afterwards because I thought, gosh, that was so embarrassing and it could have gone so much worse. And I gather up all my stuff after the audition and I go into the bathroom and I get myself into a stall and I collect myself. And after I give myself a pep talk, I come out and I'm thinking like, oh, did I ruin it? Did I mess it all up? Should I have done the kiss? Should I have done it? Was I being a wuss? All these thoughts come up. And the music assistant was washing her hands in the bathroom. And I came out and I saw her and I was like, ugh. And she said, hey, listen, that was really great what you did in there. And I just want to say I'm really proud of you because more female actors need to take care of themselves in the room and they need to honor how they're feeling. And I wish more young female actors did that. And I was like, yeah. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Right? So, I mean, I tell you this story because as an actor, as a woman in any situation, you're gonna confront things like that. I want you to know that it's acceptable and it's appropriate as a female actor, as a person, to ask for what you need. I think a lot of the expectation, maybe, I know it was for me, was that I didn't want to rock the boat. I didn't want to be a diva. I didn't want to disagree. And I get that, but you have to really honor yourself. And then realize that out of honoring yourself in that way and being authentic, you can navigate a possibility for so many different choices, right? So that's my kissing story. My life is mainly in New York now. I decided I got a little tired of living out of a suitcase, and so I decided to stay grounded in New York and pound the pavement there. And I've been able to find a really lovely balance between performing And also working, I have another passion as well. I have a passion in real estate because my survival job when I got out to New York was in real estate, and I got to love it. So I also work in real estate, and I do a lot of gigging and singing gigs, of course, and performing when I can. And I also want to share what that balance has been like for me, because I think for so long I was making myself wrong about not just pursuing acting all the time. I thought I had to have a single focus, right? I thought I had to be that one thing all the time, and that's just not the way it works. You have to keep yourself happy. You have to keep yourself happy first, and keeping myself happy was obviously paying my bills, you know. And so I found a great balance doing all of that, and then of course to round it out, about a year and a half ago, we founded Bechdel Project, and so it's just been a tremendous ride. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Bechdel Project, about who we are, and what our mission is, but I really want Kimberly to talk about what led her to the decision to create this company. So Kimberly, if you don't mind telling us, what were the deciding factors that finally made you say, yes, let's do this, let's get our own company together because of X, Y, and Z?
Yeah, I would say it started with, I mean, having a freelance directing career is really wonderful. And I've gotten to work with a lot of great companies and artists that way. But it always, when you're being asked to direct things by other people, sometimes there's a lot of joy in that, but you're not necessarily asking you to do it. So rarely does a freelance director get to go to a company and say, "Hey, I have the script that I love. I really want to direct it. Will you put it in your season?" Because so many factors go into deciding a season. And so after just thinking about it for a really long time, I thought, you know what? I really want to do work that I care about, and I really want to work with people that I love working with, that I care about with the people I love working with. And so that combination seemed like a really great life choice as a way to do my work, and as Maria was talking about, being happy, because theater is as fun as it is also hard, and so you want the right combination of people and with whatever project you're working on. And so I asked Jens and Maria, what do you guys think about like starting something together? And we just started talking about what was important to us. And as I said earlier, so a lot of my work with Women's Project really influenced me as an artist, and Jens and Maria were most familiar with Women's Project, and are big feminists in their own right. And so we started talking about what was missing in theater, and what we felt like was missing were really strong female characters. And so the opportunity to correct a company mission is devoted to presenting stronger female characters uh, was the answer for us. And a lot of it has to do with what we see in film, on TV, what have you. We grew up watching all these shows, and I'll use Disney princesses as an example. We grew up watching these Disney princess movies, and we see these examples of how girls should be, and rarely are women presented as something more than the damsel in distress, or the girl who's just wanting the guy. And rarely do female characters talk a lot about anything else other than a guy. And so we really wanted to create something that was just really simple, and that we started talking about the Bechdel test. And Bechdel Project is named after that test, and our mission is to create work that passes the test and promote work that passes the Bechdel test. And it's a really simple thing, yet somehow Eric and Stoll to do that on a consistent basis. So, Maria, do you want to explain the test and what it
Yeah,
is?
absolutely. Yeah. So, well, Bechdel Project is a nonprofit organization dedicated to telling stories past the Bechdel test. So the Bechdel test has 3 criteria. The first one is, are there 2 women in the piece? the second one is, oh, you're gonna love this. The second one is, do they talk to each other? And the third is, do they talk to each other about something other than a man? And you know, less than half of the TV that we love to watch and the films that we go to see and the narratives that we read and the plays that we attend less than half of them do not pass that seemingly simple test. Bechdel Project's mission is to change culture through changing the stories that we tell. So we believe that the stories that we tell shape our world, and they shape the way we see ourselves in that world. You know, I want to tell a sweet story. It's about the paper bag princess. Can I tell that story, Kim?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Because I think this really shows what our mission is about. We have a friend, and she has a 4-year-old niece, and her 4-year-old niece is in her princess phase. She's traipsing around the house in her princess dress, and she's always in her tiara, and she's singing all the princess songs, and she's reading all the princess books. And so our friend wanted to read her a different princess story, and it's called The Paper Bag Princess. I don't know if anyone is familiar with it. I know I wasn't. The Paper Bag Princess is a story about little Princess Elizabeth, little Princess Ronald, and they live in this gorgeous, magical kingdom, and Princess Elizabeth has a beautiful dress and the shiniest tiara, and Prince Ronald is great, and he has perfect hair, and he has an amazing crown, and they're living in bliss in this magical kingdom. And one day, a fire-breathing dragon comes and burns down the entire village, leaving nothing but complete devastation. And he picks up Prince Ronald and he flies away with him. And so Princess Elizabeth is left alone with nothing and no one. And so the first thing she thinks is, her hair is charred, her tiara is dust, her dress is disgusting. The first thing she thinks is, I need to clothe myself. I need to get a dress. So she goes and she finds a paper bag, and she's resourceful enough to make a little dress out of this paper bag. And then the second thing she thinks is, well, now I have to find Ronald, because I have to restore the kingdom with him. We have to do it together. I have to find him. So she ventures off into the forest by herself to trace this dragon. She traces the devastation that the dragon has left behind. And when she gets to the dragon, then she outsmarts him and leaves him totally tired so that he can't do anything. And she steps over his head and she gets to the dungeon, right? She knocks on the dungeon door, and she is so excited because she knows Ronald's in there with his perfect hair and his amazing crown and his perfect clothes. And she knows that he's going to open the door and he's going to praise her. And he's going to say, oh, I can't believe you found me, and how did you find me, and oh my goodness, and he's going to embrace her. And instead what happens is he opens the door and he takes a look at her and he says, what happened to you? Where's your tiara? Your hair is charred. What are you wearing? Come back when you look like a princess. Right? So Princess Elizabeth says, wow. She has this moment and she thinks, you may have perfect hair and you may look like a prince, but you're really just a bum. So she goes off and lives a life by herself, and she restores the kingdom on her own. Because that whole journey it took to get to him, she realized that she was resilient enough to do it all herself. So our friend closes the book and she looks at her little niece and she's like, so what do you think of that princess story, right? And our friend expects this little 4-year-old girl to say, yeah, if Princess Elizabeth can do it, then I can do it too. Or, yeah, I can do things by myself. And, all right. But instead, 4-year-old girl thinks carefully and thoughtfully and looks up and says to her, "Was the prince very brave?" Our culture's princess story is already so ingrained in a 4-year-old little girl that she didn't want to think beyond the idea that Princess Elizabeth was brave enough to venture the woods on her own, intelligent enough to outsmart a dragon, and resilient enough to understand that knowing who you are and honoring yourself is one of the most empowering things that you can do for yourself. So that's what this mission is about. It's about changing the stories that we tell. Because this is what's happening. We're seeing, right? We're hearing, we're believing, and then it's all coming right back, right? And then we're telling it. And then other people are seeing it, and other people are hearing it, and then other people are believing it, and then other people are telling it. So what if we change the whole story so that what people saw and what they heard and what they believed was something really tremendous, that was more than just a single story, right? Because if you think about it, you know, all of these women, you're more than one single story. You're you know, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, I'm an actor, I'm a singer, I'm a performer, I'm a writer. I love brain science. I'm a geek about yoga. I have so many things and interests. Many women do. So we're interested in telling stories that resemble realistic, real life, complex women, and not just in their relationship to men. Kimberly, do you have anything to add? Do you want to add anything? And are you ready for questions?
No, I mean, I think that really covers it because I love, you know, like we were saying earlier about Disney princesses and the movies we watch with our kids versus the paperback is such a great example. And just dedicating ourselves to furthering the advancement of storytelling, and the best way to do that is to be more inclusive and present everyone in a way that is well-rounded and thoughtful and complex, because you know no single person is better. So doing what we can, doing our part to make sure that we're being more truthful is what we're all about.
Great. So I know we're going to open up a question and answer session. And Donna, if you want to kick us off, I know you have some questions for us. We are certainly open and welcome to take those.
I do have a couple questions. And I hate to start off with this question given the context of the work and the conversation we just had. But in dealing with this material, it's focused on women and their stories, and because of our history and our beliefs and our society, I would imagine that it would be difficult to entice and engage with a male audience and get them on board. Do you find that to be the case? And if so, how are you navigating those waters? Because I feel that in order to change culture, we have to engage everybody.
Yeah. Well, lucky for us, Jens is a co-founder, so yeah, obviously we need to get men on board with this, absolutely. Kim, do you wanna talk a little about that?
Yeah, I mean, so far we haven't had a lot of trouble. You know, what was interesting was the one, I would say, I'll call it pushback. The one pushback we've gotten was actually from a woman. And what she told us, this is playwright, and she said, I have it hard enough, and now you're telling me what I need to write.
This is a playwright.
And we said, well, that's not, you know, what we're telling you at all. You can write whatever you want, but we're right, that we've encountered have been very, very supportive. And really, I would say it's sort of like they kind of wake up when they realize what we're doing and what we're talking about. And we, talk to them about some of the material we're working on. Even some of the oldest gentlemen, and I don't mean to like say older people are like stuck in their ways or anything like that, but people that do have more of a like traditional thought process about producing or directing or whatever. Talked to some male artistic directors about what we do and what we're working on, and they've all said, "Oh, I've never thought about." And then we'll get Facebook messages from them saying, "Hey, I read this, and this made me think of you, and this made me think of the Bechdel test." And so far, really, men have been very on board. It's been really wonderful.
Mhm. Also, I want to add too that Bechdel Project has an education series, and we have a tremendous workshop that deals with privilege and identifying and limiting beliefs and gender bias. And the males that have attended that it's been really cool. I think, like Kimberly said, I think a lot of them are just kind of awakened by when they're in that workshop and they're actually seeing what that's like for women. Yeah, so, I should also mention too, since we're on the topic, we have a 3-day residency starting tomorrow where we'll kick it off with that very workshop, Changing Stories, Changing Culture. And that's at 2 o'clock, and that's open to the public. So if you all want to attend that, even if you aren't going to attend the 3-day workshop, that's open to the public. So yeah, bring your boyfriends, bring your dads, bring your male counterparts, because research shows that attending that kind of workshop can really inspire your relationships to grow stronger. So yeah. Jens, you want to say something?
Well, I also wanted to mention that women buy most tickets to theater, film, theaters and films. They hold 86% of the purchasing power in our economy. And also, there's no research on theaters yet, but the research shows that Bechdel passing films do better at the box office, almost 33% better than non-Bechdel passing, and that's over the last 2 decades. So it is actually it's not the reason why we chose this mission, but it's not a bad business plan, I will say.
It's not bad for business. Anyone else? Do you have any other questions?
Yeah. I'm curious as to what changes you've seen in the field, both positive and negative. And what advice do you have for us in this room to help us navigate the ever-changing waters
Yeah.
field?
Mm-hmm. You
I'll,
want to go first, Maria?
yeah, I'll start. So I'll start with advice for the ever-changing waters is, it was a real struggle for me to find monologues. I think that's probably still a struggle, especially comedic monologues. There weren't a lot of comedic monologues that were available that weren't victimizing or just gross. Or about a female crying about her boyfriend. So this could be a really cool resource. I started going to the Best of Craigslist. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Craigslist has a best of where that community will post this like hilarious, ridiculous, crazy posts. And I turn those into monologues. Yeah, and they're fantastic. And if you're an actor and you're looking for a monologue, it's a great resource. Go to the Best of Craigslist, find something, and then when you go into the room, you can introduce it as, hi, my name's Marie Maloney. I'm doing, you can title it if you want. I'm doing, toy shop from the Best of Craigslist. So that's something I wanna add, because I know it's really tricky to find monologues, and we're working on that too. We have some ideas about putting together some collections that women can go to as a resource. Kim?
I think the theater field is changing. It's thanks to companies like Women's Project and other female directors that are really sort of paving the way for everybody else. It's hard. I think change is slow, and change changing something drastically is slow. It's something I'm as I'm an artistic director now for a company. This company's been in existence for 92 years. Some of the people that are very involved here have been involved here for 20 to 30 years. And some of the things I'm talking about, in regard to diversity with women and other, African American communities and Latino communities. Omaha's a very racially diverse city, and the work that I think we need to do with this theater is it's sort of revolutionary for some people, and but I think the more you just talk about diversity and exposure and theater being for everyone and to represent all of the walks of life, the more you talk about it, the more it will get in people's heads. And it may slowly get there, but it's worth it in the end. So I think that in regard to women in theater, the more you put yourself out there and try to just get into the room, whether you're an actor or director or designer, what have you, the harder it gets, the more it's going to, it will pay off, because eventually you're going to get in that room and you're going to have those conversations, and or you're going to get that audition or what have you. And paving the way is hard, as we think of all the pioneers of life that have done amazing things, and trying to pave the way is difficult. And so I think just being committed to whatever your personal mission is really important and a big part of it.
Does anybody else have any questions? Yes.
So do you have a list of some other works that pass the test that you can share with us?
Oh, we have a list. Yeah, we have
a whole document.
A whole document on our
Is it
website.
on your website?
Yeah, you can get to it through our website.
Outstanding.
Yeah, it's a great question. Thank you. Yes, here.
Yeah, you want to change the world, and you influence art and culture and that. My question now, how do you measure success?
Wow. Well, Bechdel Project is hoping that someday our mission will be obsolete. So when there's no longer a need for us to be around, when this is no longer a mission because everyone is incorporating it into their work, then that's the real game changer. I look forward to it.
Agreed.
Anybody else? Does anybody else have any questions? Sure, of course.
I just wondered if if you could tell us a little bit, kind of nuts and bolts, what have you guys been doing for the year and a half,
Sure.
You said the workshops, but are you producing?
Sure. Yeah, oh yeah, I'm excited to talk about that. So we're still, we're a baby company, obviously. We're still waiting on our determination letter, actually, for our 501c3 status. But yeah, we actually workshopped a rock musical in April. So we're writing a rock musical. We have a terrific musician on board with that. It's about an evolutionary biologist and her life's work and being female in that field, and her struggles and her discoveries. And that happened, that's her journey. Back in the 80s, she won a MacArthur grant for her a Genius Award. So we workshopped a musical about that, and that's in the works. Things take time, and we're hoping to maybe do a small play festival. But right now we're focusing on our education series because, lucky for us, we found that there's a real need for that. There's a real calling for people in university settings, particularly, to be educated in this type of work, because that's the goal, to have young people and young writers start writing this and incorporating into future work, so that it's in the pipeline, and then we're gonna see it. Kim, did you wanna say anything?
I'm here.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Cool? Cool, thank you. Anybody
Can you
else?
hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, yes.
You guys addressed the concept of like diversity in theater. Are you guys going to be doing anything or planning on doing anything about?
What was the question?
Are you guys doing anything or like planning on doing anything about addressing like racial typecasting and like the problems of like the struggles that people of different races face in theater?
Yeah, Kim, did Kim hear that?
I think she's frozen.
She's frozen, okay. So yeah, so
Can you repeat the question?
Are we going to address other issues like race and diversity in our company's mission? It's not just feminism, it's
Oh, yeah.
also, yeah. I'll let her. So tell
Yeah,
us.
I mean, if you come to our workshop tomorrow, we touch on some of that in the hour-long workshop as well. Because that is important to us, you know, I mean, conversations with a lot of people, some of them are uncomfortable, and that's okay, it's good, you know, for, I think, people to learn from uncomfortable conversations sometimes, but, you know, for example, you know, my experience as a white woman is going to be very different from the experience of an African American woman or an Asian woman, and so I think tackling feminism even from within different lenses is still really, really important. And so that is something that we're also focused on doing.
Great question. Thank you so much. Yes.
What is your opinion on gender swap roles in Shakespeare? Is that a step towards feminist theater because it gives women more time on the stage in more complex roles, or is it a step back because they're just filling the shoes of men?
Ah, I love it. Kim, did you hear that? This would actually be a great question for Kim because she's at the Omaha Community Playhouse. Kim, what do you think about? Did you hear me?
Yes, gender swapping.
Gender swapping in Shakespeare particularly.
Yeah,
I'm gonna answer it. Yes, I think it's a step forward for exactly for that reason, right? So, yeah, complex roles, right? I mean, we're people. It's just people. People love other people. People don't love other genders. So that's how I feel about that as a whole. So these are actors. These are people. So yes, I think that's a step forward. I don't know if she wants to add anything to that, but yeah, thank you. That's a great question. Anybody else? How are we on time, Donna? I don't want to.
It is 6:26.
Yeah. So take
Another
it.
question.
Sure, of course.
So in the paper, you say you're the actor, and you spoke, you say you're actor.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought, you know, the proper English is
Actress.
Is that the way I try to equate a man?
You know, that's a great question
Yeah.
because a lot of people will say, wouldn't you call yourself a female actor? And I think it's just gone a lot of back and forth over the years. Actress, waitress, you know. It doesn't really, I mean, sometimes I say for the most part I say actor. I think that's just my way. Do I say anything else? Female actor, I guess.
Yeah, it's not my impression, having listened to Maria, that there's any
It's like actress.
conscious thing. It's just, I think there's a move in our language in general towards a little more gender neutrality.
Yeah.
And I think I'm hearing that from a lot of women, regardless of whether they're involved in feminist theater or not.
I understood perfectly. But then, you know, again, for people whose language native tongue is not the English,
For sure.
you begin to be,
For sure.
wondering why.
Yeah. For sure.
Language is
I think that your point is really interesting about the neutrality around the term. I teach in communication and teach a very course, and you know, we talk a lot about gender bias in language,
Yeah.
and I think it's really important that every discipline own it and discuss it within their discipline when they want to use gender neutral words like that. So if you yourselves are referring to yourself as an actor when you're a female, it's important that you write about it or that you put that message out there so that others in other disciplines don't get confused.
Yeah, for example, engineer, you don't have a female word for engineer.
Right, right.
Or-
Not yet.
Use the word actor. I don't have to debate this anymore.
I'm probably the oldest person in the room, but I remember very clearly in the 80s when in my field as an actor, we were talking about, well, carpenters don't call themselves carpentresses. So we made
Right.
very conscious decisions to say if we're doing a job, we call it one job. It's the same job.
Then you meant the word architecture.
Yeah.
Architecture. Kim, do you have anything to add?
No, I mean, I think that's true. I mean, you know, my female friends and I jokingly call ourselves directresses, but I wouldn't. You know.
Right.
Yeah. No, I do think it's really important.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, that gender neutrality is something that I think it's being talked about in so many different fields. It is really important to have those discussions.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, I'm gonna wrap it up. Thank you all. This was really tremendous. Thanks for sharing in this. And I hope you'll go out and you'll think about the stories that you're hearing. You'll think about the stories that you're telling, and then you'll think about the stories that you're living. So thanks for being here.
Thank you.